the intro music, kind of like intro music to your favorite.
Easy music.
Well, I could technically. No, I'll wait. I'll wait. But I've been playing this for the last like 15 episodes or so. I don't know. It was custom made for me by another autistic person, so that's why the song is meaningful. And welcome to the Difference Is You show. Nope, that's not the screen. Nope, that's not right. I have to stop sharing. All right. And welcome. We've got Daniel here with us today. And I should know this because my fiance is Vietnamese. Daniel Phung. I'll just give it my best go.
Oh, you nailed it.
Okay. Because I know if you try to pronounce it, you might try to pronounce it phonetically and be like Phuong, but I grew up with a lot of Vietnamese people, so some things I kind of like. I think that's how to pronounce it the right way.
Yeah, so majority of the time, that's usually a Vietnamese first name, not a last name.
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's actually maybe why I didn't recognize it as a last name, because I'm like, I'm familiar, but I don't think I usually see it as a last name.
So my dad, when he immigrated from China to Vietnam, took that name as a last name. So every single person that's Phuong is pretty much related to me.
Okay. Wow. I'm gonna have to go through my memory. Like, I don't know if you're familiar. What's your history of where you've lived and where you've grown up? Cities, states.
So I was manufactured in Vietnam and then
Yeah.
assembled
Yeah.
shipped because I'm actually a boat person. So I came to America by boat.
Literally fresh off the boat. Wow.
Totally fresh off the boat.
Wow. Wow.
And then I was assembled in Minnesota.
Assembled in Minnesota. How old were you? Because you would have fooled me. Your English sounds more perfect than some people that are born here, you know? So it's
Well, I mean, if I came in 1979,
okay.
because that's the last time that some of the latest boat person people are in 1980.
Okay.
So yeah, I hope that my English is good.
Yeah, I mean, some people, like let's say, most people that aren't born here, I kind of am able to tell somewhat. Like some, parts of your accents are very hard to lose.
Yeah.
And I mean, my dad was here, well over 30 years, and you could tell, you sound like a fob. I mean, it's just right. I'm like, I just sometimes I don't know what it's like. Maybe.
What
Yeah.
you'll find that's really interesting is that the cousins of mine that were raised in California
Yeah.
has more of a fobbish accent than I do because I was raised in Minnesota.
That's weird.
And so they were hanging around more Asians than I was, right? I was hanging around white people, and so I sound white.
That's why, right? Weird.
Yeah,
Weird.
so
That's
I
interesting
lived in
perspective.
24. I lived in Minnesota for 24 years, and then moved to California just about 2004, so 16 years ago.
By the way, okay, so I think if you go to my page, it'll show that I'm live on Facebook, and you could share that onto your page. So then what I think is going to happen is the live viewing is going to be visible to everybody on your page or any group.
Not there yet.
Okay. If you go on my page, I see myself. So I think, like, if you go to my page, yeah, maybe go to my page and see.
I am.
Okay, refresh it. I don't know. It says maybe let me tag. You know what? Let me tag you in here. That
Oh,
might-
got it.
Okay, but I'll tag you anyways. There you go. And then, I mean, man, if we get one person to ask one question, you and I just, we'll work together to look, but I don't want it to distract from the conversation, so we'll just because okay, here's what I hate about Facebook live streams is that like motherfucker never pays attention to his goddamn comments. That's the point of live streaming. Like and I think, and I don't blame them, because for most people it's the first time they've ever live streamed, right? They're not, but I've been doing Twitch for a while, and so don't have a lot of experience, but compared to average person, I have a lifetime of experience live streaming. And my first day I was streaming video games, okay? And yeah, I was streaming video games, and the first people in my stream, I don't know why they wanted to help me or whatever. Is I think it's just a small helpful community. They were like, look, when someone asks a question, you got to repeat their question immediately. You don't just start answering it. Just that one little,
Oh God.
you know what I'm saying? So like let's
Yeah,
say
yeah.
let's say you're watching someone else's stream, okay? You're watching me and talk to someone else, and you're like, oh hey Omar, what are you wearing? And then I'll look down and I'll be like, oh, Daniel Fung says, what are you wearing? It's just better for the audience. It's kind of an acknowledgement of the person, asking the question,
Right.
makes them feel
Right.
special in the audience, right? And it does. You realize it when you're the person asking the question and you're watching other streamers. You're like, oh shit, he actually acknowledged my existence, and it's better for the audience. What question are you answering versus you just answer out of nowhere? They don't know, and that just comes from experience streaming. That like, okay, I'm gonna do my best not to repeat what I freaking hate about all other people's live streams. And I mentioned that because you did acknowledge my comment in your live stream, the one that I went, and I'm like, hey, blah blah, blah. And then you were paying attention to your comments and actually responding to them, which very few people do on their Facebook live streams, right? And it just so happens I'm streaming on multiple platforms, so I have to make sure I don't ignore anyone on the multiple platforms that I'm streaming on. Anyways,
I think that comes from me just being a public speaker. As a public
okay,
speaker, I always
public speak.
repeat the question because sometimes
Mm,
people don't hear it, right?
mm-hmm.
And then I try to get acknowledgement, and I try to recognize the person. I'm like, tell me your name. Oh,
Mm,
Jim asked.
mm.
'Cause everyone loves to be seen, heard, and
There you
loved.
go. I knew from that moment that you were gonna be a good guest and because I was like, well, fuck, man, he's already doing a one in a million thing that I don't see anybody else do. I'm like, this guy knows some shit, right? Public speaker, not surprised. Okay.
Yeah.
You've been trained in the art of making people feel special, and it's like, I'm like, all right. And it wasn't even me like trying to test you or anything. I was like, oh, hey, it's Daniel, the guy I'm gonna interview later. I'm gonna go say hi. And then I'm like, I'm not that I had any expectations, but I was just like, oh, hey. And I'm like, oh man, if he ignores the comment like everybody other live streamer, it's expected. And I'm like, oh well, he actually responded to it in a pretty fast manner. So it's like, all right, you get it. You
Well, it's definitely an
yeah,
art and a science, right? And
yeah, yeah.
growing up, the thing that I craved the most was to be seen, heard, and loved.
There you
I
go.
didn't get that because
There
I
you
felt like I
go.
was so different from the rest of the world. My mom thought I was the perfect kid, and because I was the perfect kid, and you know this from an Asian family, right?
Yeah,
Like the perfect kid is the one that doesn't get the attention. It's always the bad kid.
yeah,
And so then you as a child interpret that, well, how come that person's getting love and I'm not getting
yeah.
love?
Okay.
And so I grow up, and so from that, I've just learned to always see people, be
Mm-hmm.
present with people, and then make sure that they're heard and feel
Mm-hmm.
loved when they're in my presence.
Mm. That's counterintuitive, right? Because you yourself said or I think maybe you mentioned this off stream that you always felt weird, growing up, but then actually now, from my perspective, you're the more empathetic person. You're considering feelings more than other people who claim to be normal people who are supposed to be more empathetic, right? So your whatever your experience was led you to actually be, more. Who is this? Someone gave me a man. I don't even know. Sorry, I forgot. Uh, how do I even look at that? There's someone sent me a something or a follow. No. Oh, someone follows it. I can see it. I mean to have that be above, but it said good boy AKS has followed. That means we got a follower from doing it, right. Remember, okay. Let's talk about firsts. All right, you shared with me. You're like, hey, Omar, this is gonna be my first podcast, and I do quotation marks because podcasts are by nature audio. So like calling this a podcast doesn't do it any justice because we're live streaming our emotions and our face and everything
Right.
that we're doing, right? But podcast, I don't know why it sounds cooler and more exclusive
It does.
than Facebook show, right? Hey, you want to come on my Facebook show? No. You want to come on my podcast? Yeah, sure. I don't know why. It just that's from my perspective. I don't know if other people share that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't know. Because I've done a ton of Facebook Live, but like this podcast seems like, wow, I've arrived. It's the echelon.
Yeah, I mean, you're on that same level as William Hung. Fuck, 2 guests ago, William. But you qualify as a celebrity, basically. Yeah. I mean that's the level of my show now, man. I've made it. I'm getting celebrities.
Hey, I'm
You know.
completely honored.
Well, I am honored to have you, man, because there are not a lot of yous in the world. I think, unicorn, haha, funny, but unicorn in a very even if we were to categorize you by just those few things that you
The
mentioned,
unicorn itself.
yeah, I mean, like, look at it here. Okay, you said, and I hope nobody gets offended because it's like, am I offending it? Well, he brought these terms up first. Just want
I
to
did.
make
I
that
did.
clear. And that kind of leads us into what I wanted to talk about is just being comfortable in your own skin, right?
Yeah.
And just being able. And I'm glad I have you on the show because I found out not too long ago that I'm on the spectrum, autism. What Asperger's would be more descriptive if you're even familiar with these terms, right?
Mhm.
And I used the term coming out of the closet and just being like, hey guys, I have Asperger's, I'm autistic. Yeah, I'm like, dude, if gay people are doing this all the time, what's the big deal in terms of just telling the world like that? It is what it is,
Right.
right? Because that's who you are, and no, and so I'll put that out there. You share some things about yourself. That's one of the most personal things I could probably share, right? And then, because normal people they use that as an insult. It's not something that you want to be like, hey, I'm autistic. I don't think it's ever received with open arms. And most people, it's just they don't know. They're ignorant. Never cared. Why would you bother to learn about something you don't have?
Right.
I mean, I was ignorant to the condition before I found out I had it. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I should learn about it now. You
That's
know?
because there's so much shame and guilt associated with that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But if it was something that was celebrated, then you'd be like, hey, I have it too.
Yeah, yes. I mean, obviously, you've thought about these issues longer and more deeply than I have. I'm like new, to just like, dang, man, I'm in this small kind of feels like exclusive club at this point, that not a lot of people know about. And yeah, man. So it's just interesting to have you on. I don't think we even really touched on. Let me actually introduce Daniel Fung in the way I had planned, and we went off the script, which is how I prefer things, right? All right, so the last gay Asian unicorn is what we're gonna title this, and the reason we want to go there is because Daniel introduced himself to me as not just a gay Asian, but he's a network marketer. Whatever you feel about network marketing, he's also a minimalist, spiritualist. And I didn't know that it was a thing or even a term, OMAD. I thought you had spelt my name wrong. I'm like, no, my name's Omar. And you're like, no, 1 meal a day unicorn. I'm like, I didn't know OMAD was a thing. I'm like, did you just spell my name wrong, bro? No, OMAD is a thing. It stands for 1 meal a day. Daniel literally eats 1 meal a day, and it works for him. It's not something
Yeah.
I would ever recommend, and I guess it's something that works for some people. I'm not going to argue against what works. So I don't know. Your face froze, but I can still hear you. So I don't know if your video's okay. Oh no, there you go.
My
You're
video on my side is okay. Yeah.
okay. No, no,
On my side, but I can actually see on your side that it's frozen.
yeah. No, it's probably because I'm streaming in HD and that takes up a lot of bandwidth on my end. So
Got it.
you could blame me for the issues. And I'm streaming technically to 3 services. I don't know, but hey, man, I'm gonna use this spectrum for all it's worth. Paying these internet fees, might as well use up the bandwidth, right? Like,
Right on.
anyways, Well, did I leave anything out? Because that could take up 5 hours worth of content. We're gonna try to get to the most interesting things about each aspect, squeeze it under an hour. We already used up half of it, and but really like a main theme, and I wrote this down as a theme: self acceptance. Right? We kind of tell them all the details, and then hey, this was the thesis. But I should have led with that. But we already shared some things that some people may not want to share about themselves. Being comfortable in your own body, and if we have time, we'll maybe talk about some marketing. Um, so did I leave anything out? I try to hit
Yeah,
it all.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you kind of encompass the core of who I am.
Okay. And I didn't know until you mentioned you're a public speaker. We could start there. Where did that start? Where does that fit into your journey?
As I came into my own skin and be able to tell my own story, I was pushed and led to, hey, why don't you come and share a little bit of yourself and who you are?
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it just kind of escalated to one after another. I've trained in front of over 10,000 people. That's
What?
crazy, insane. I never thought that I would ever get there.
Wow. And what does that
Yeah.
involve? What there
it's
just
it's it's not something that I was looking for. I think,
yeah.
a lot of times people have this passion, like they grow up and they said, this is what I wanted to be. I didn't think that I was going to be a public speaker. I didn't think that I was going to be a network marketer. I didn't think I
Mm-hmm.
was going to be one meal a day, or I didn't think that I was going to minimalist. But as you actually embrace the journey, you kind of fine tune. And I think that life is almost like a series of dots,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's meant to be lived forward, and then only looking back and you connect
Mm-hmm.
the dots and you go, oh, that's why that happened, and that's how that happened. And when I learned to embrace that journey,
Mm-hmm.
I learned to
I just lost your audio. Is that on my end? Hold on. Dang, man, I just lost the last few seconds of audio. I cannot hear your voice. Is that?
not at all.
Oh no, now I hear it. I don't know what happened. Um, but damn, man, I lost. Yeah, I lost literally like the last 5 to 10 seconds of when you were talking. I thought it was gonna come back on,
Well, I was just
and
saying that
yeah.
you're taught to go to school, get good grades, and get a good job, and become
Okay.
this thing
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
And I never fit in that mold.
Okay.
I was like, that's not what I want. My only thing that I wanted to do was just to express myself, and I didn't know what that looked like.
Okay.
But as I grew older and older, I just learned to embrace that journey and become who I'm meant to become.
Okay. And I want to. Did you say connect the dots because you wore that shirt? Because I was like connect the dots right when you were wearing the dotted shirt.
I
I was like, yeah. I was like, if you just
always
started,
say that
yeah,
life is meant to be lived forward, but only in looking backwards can
yeah,
you connect the dots to see like why did that
yeah.
happen?
It really does work like that, right? Like, how come you can't know beforehand? It's all just gonna work out okay.
I think it would fuck it up.
Yeah, yeah. It really would, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And people ask me all the time, Daniel, do you go to see a fortune teller? I'm like, why? I
yeah,
don't want to know. Because if I know, then I would alter my actions. If I alter my actions, then it would alter the future.
yeah. I can't believe it's something people have actually asked you. Like who? No one's ever asked me that. You go to fortune teller? What? Who's?
Have you ever gone to a fortune teller?
No, I mean like I know my aunt knows like a lot of like the Asian healers in the area. I mean like as far as fortune, I mean I've gone to some supposedly very powerful like Chinese healer doctors. I don't know if I ever like got my fortune told. I mean if they had told my parents, perhaps when I was like I don't remember shit when I'm a kid. Takes my pulse, and then I go to another room, and he's like I don't know, maybe as a fortune teller, but yeah, I mean it's still like in like in Chinese they believe in energy like qigong, and there's like some that weird underground. So it's like I've heard some firsthand stories of like some really weird crazy shit. So I'm willing to like believe anything at this point. I'm very open minded. I'm like it's weird shit, man. I don't think I've seen anything too crazy from my own two eyes. So It's like I can only attest to what I've seen, and I'll tell you what I've heard. That's as far as I'll go, right? But
Yeah, I think an
yeah,
open mind is such a beautiful thing
yeah.
because we live in these box paradigms, right? Like this is the only way. When you actually open up the mind and you explore, you
Mm-hmm.
realize then, like, wow, I had no idea. And you also realize who you are
Mm-hmm.
too by opening up.
Let's see. We got any comments? Oh, Jody liked. Somebody liked the page or the post. Well, how about this then? You said the only thing that you're not is a vegan, but my mom is. So your mom. So how did you not become a vegan? So obviously your mom didn't push it on you, or maybe she did, and then you grew up and then said no more of this.
Yeah, I have dabbled into veganism, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll stay there for like a year or two, and then
Wow,
all of
that's still a
a sudden,
long time.
yeah,
Oh, your voice just cut out. I mean I can't hear. I don't know if the. Yeah, I don't know if that's my end. That's really weird. I mean, I guess it's because I'm streaming and hogging all the bandwidth. All right, what about now? Okay, yeah, I can hear.
okay, so I was just saying that, I got to a point where after exploring veganism for a year or two, I'll say, all right, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go to a party or I'll go to
Mm.
something where there's absolutely nothing that I could eat. Then I taste my first bite of meat again and I'm like, and then I go right back
Mm.
in. So it's just not sustainable for
Yeah,
me.
but I mean, 1 or 2 years is still freaking a long time. I
It
mean,
is a long time.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what
But
is
when you don't live
yeah,
in that community, because we don't live in a world
yeah,
where I think that we're moving towards that,
yeah,
but it's just like when you don't have the support and the system in place, it's hard.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my little sister is a vegan for a long time. And then my now fiance, when we first started dating, first couple of years, she tried it out for a few months, which meant when we went out, we had to go to vegan restaurants. The worst few months of my life. Fucking cashew cheese on like nachos. I'm like, fuck, dude, this tastes like cardboard. More than cardboard tastes like cardboard. Like, no, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm exaggerating. It's not that bad. But so I've tried it. I enough to know that it's not for me. I've tried it.
Yeah.
I tried to do it
Yeah.
with her. Just like so I know I commend the
You're
people.
trying it. I think that,
Yeah.
everything in life, if you just try it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a while and see if you like it, and if you like it, you stick. For me, like
Yeah, yeah.
OMAD, one meal a day was something I was going to explore. I
Yeah.
didn't know that it was going to be 3 years later that I'm still on that.
Yeah, yeah. I forget, in my what I feel like is knowledge, I'm constantly humbled that like I don't know it all. I'm like, come from a perspective that that's bad, and from my personal perspective, I was doing that in one of my most unhealthiest adult 200 plus pounds. I would wake up, freaking get speed to the office, coffee, Red Bull, skip lunch, coffee, Red Bull, rest of the day, come home, eat one large dinner, and that's when I weighed over 200 pounds, and I just wasn't healthy. And then so I'm like, well, I guess I don't know people that it works for. I mean, I think you're the first one I've literally met that would be like, this works for me. And I'm like,
But for
all
those who
right.
don't know, I went OMAD and I went from 207 pounds to 142 pounds.
I mean, if you keep that meal reasonable, then sure. For me, it was like I was binge eating, and the first part of the day, just the entire day was not healthy, coffee and Red Bull. But so,
Yeah.
yeah, Daniel, as I understand it, fasts. You said for what, 23 hours? I mean, obviously eating one meal a
Yeah.
day, you have to fast the whole day, and you still exercise and you don't pass out. Yeah. And what is the time? When do you time the meal in terms of before or after exercising?
Well, when I started doing it, it
Uh
was
huh.
right around like the 4 or 5 o'clock mark, and so it just kind of stuck around that. But
Mm,
that's not a rigid thing
yeah.
for me. It's just whenever I feel like I want to eat my meal.
Yeah. All right.
And when I wake up, I don't have breakfast. I have no desire to eat in the morning at all. Every blue moon,
Mm-hmm.
I'll get a craving like at 2 o'clock. Every blue moon.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when I'm like at a party with friends and it's all in front of me that I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I kind of want to bite.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, Omar, I do eat.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah. It's
I'm
not like a
like
religion. It's
the
just yeah.
sacred religion
Gotcha.
cult
Yeah.
thing that I subscribe to. Overall, in general, it's one meal a day.
Mm.
I allow for variations and I
Mm.
allow for flexibility and fun.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be that guy that's like, Daniel, we can't be around you because you're just too odd.
All
I'm
right.
odd enough already. I don't need to add one more layer of oddness.
Yeah. No, that's cool that you mentioned that because you know, you stick to it, but you know, you're flexible enough to be reasonable, you know. It's
Yeah,
not like
yeah,
a yeah.
yeah.
What about uh on top of see you use some words what are you laughing? You use some words like to describe what I do better than the words I was using, and because I wrote down a few things. You said because I'm and talk about posture, right? You asked me what am I wearing, and it's like this posture device. And it's funny you're asking me about you're bringing up posture. Well, I brought it up now, but earlier you brought it up. You had said, and I quote you, posture is critical. And I'm like, it is. I've never said it in those words critical. Yeah, that is a great word to put with posture, but don't think because I'm a writer at heart, and so I'm like, that is a good phrase, and I'm gonna ask you if I can use that, steal it, and you know, posture is critical. It really is, and until you wrote that, I didn't. How come, like in all the times I wrote about it, I never wrote posture is critical? I don't think I associated those two words, and wanted to know how, you know, how did when we started talking about it, you know, I have a side hustle called Posture Camp, but here you are, where you told me what I thought I was about to tell you. You're like, yes, posture is critical. I have a stand desk, and I was like, what? How do you know, you're light years ahead of me.
Well, I was trained in classical ballet.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so in classical ballet, I mean, when your lines, your
Yeah.
movements, and how you stand and everything was everything because aesthetically
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
Okay.
But from a physics
Yeah.
and science level, it was necessary
Yeah.
to hold a
Uh,
certain position.
okay.
And so your posture is almost like the foundation of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have good posture, everything breaks down, right? Your confidence
Mm-hmm.
breaks down. Look at, I mean, there's a difference
Damn.
between like this
That's what I've
and
been saying.
this.
You're
Isn't
my
there?
you're you know what? You pretty much better selling posture better than I can. I've been trying.
Yeah.
I'm like,
When
damn.
you walk into the room, Omar, when you walk into the room and you're like this,
Yeah.
you are so dim but
Turn to the
when you
side.
walk
Show us your
in,
profile. Show us your profile. That's better.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
when you walk in,
Yeah.
when you walk in and you are standing tall, there's
Yeah.
something that is so statuesque,
Yeah.
so magnetic that someone goes, I don't know who that person is,
Yeah.
but I want to know that person because you stand head and shoulder. So I might be only 5'5", but my posture is like I'm a 6'5" person when I enter into that
Yeah.
room. Does that make
And
sense?
it does, man. And it's
People
like,
want to come
God,
around
yes.
that. People want to come around because it's a pillar. It's almost like it's like rock solid. You're like,
Hmm.
this is how you are, not this.
Damn, that's how it is. That's how it is.
Yeah. And so we live in a world where like we're constantly over the desk,
Yes.
we're constantly looking down,
Just
and
promoting,
eventually
yeah.
it just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And it affects everything. And it affects your confidence too. It really does. People don't think about it.
I mean, do I even have to say anything else about posture, ladies and gentlemen?
Critical, yeah. That's why I was asking you because because I come from a dance background, I'm very aware of
Yeah.
how I stand and how I sit. So I don't need devices. Some people do need devices,
Mm-hmm.
and you wear them until
Mm.
you establish the habit. So an activity is something that's hard to do at first, and a
Mm-hmm.
habit is something that's hard not to do. So you do an activity long enough so that it becomes a habit,
I
and then you
agree.
can actually remove the devices.
Because if you leave this on forever, what is it? It becomes a crutch.
It
Because
becomes a total crutch.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
it becomes like I need that
yeah.
in order to,
Thank you
and you
for
don't.
bringing that up because I don't even think I had broached that topic yet. For me, it's like uh because I spend a lot of time thinking about this because the reason I even preach about posture is because I've improved my own posture. And I say improved instead of fix on purpose because I still, though I'm wearing this for a reason, because I recently really realized how bad I actually have that forward neck gamer posture. Same thing you were mentioning, looking, and that like, uh, it's hard to revert. It's like, I kind of use the analogy of a tree, right? A tree bends over time. And if you try to bend it back right away, it's going to snap. You don't just bend, it takes, got to kind of massage
Of
it
course.
back over
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It
Uh,
takes conscientious,
Conscientious, yeah,
yeah,
mindful daily
mindful
consciousness being,
practice. And so everything in life is a practice, right? They call it the practice of medicine.
yeah.
So your posture is a practice, your speaking is a practice. You're
Hmm.
always practicing because you never arrive. If you arrive, you're dead.
I don't know what to make of that. I agree with it. I gotta think about it. Oh damn, you arrive, you're dead. Yeah,
Well, when you think of arrival,
yeah,
Omar, you think of perfection. No,
yeah,
perfection is an illusion. You can't get there.
yeah,
And so there's always
yeah,
another level of excellence. And what you're striving for is
yeah,
excellence, not perfection.
yeah. That's
We
true.
as human beings are not perfect things. And so we can't get there.
Hmm.
That's why it's always a work. You're always going to be a student and you're always going to be a teacher simultaneously. It's crazy.
I just realized, not that I care that much, but this is how sometimes how ignorant I am. I'm like, for people looking at the episode title and the audio's off, they're like, is it him or is it him? The gay one. I'm like, oh, I mean, whatever. It's not a big deal to me. I mean, like, they might look at
Isn't
it.
that funny that we're so concerned about what other people think?
We are. That's as a
Yeah. And
society.
why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Why? I wish. And it's not like a Insta like you can just like let's say you're talking to me and you're like, hey man, you need to stop caring what people think, and I'm gonna be like, ah, you're right. I'm gonna stop caring. There's like
Yeah.
right. It's like there's multiple layers of
Of course there
you
is.
can't
Yeah.
just one day be like, he's right. I'm gonna stop caring, and then you just don't turn it off all of a sudden. I mean, I'm speaking from a place of experience to where I think I used to care to where I care less and less. And I'm not going to outright say I don't care. I'm going to be try to be self-aware and at least be aware of the areas that I do care more than other areas. But after like you've like done, like freaking stream shirtless, there's not a lot less things you could do to embarrass yourself online. So I kind of just like whatever.
Yeah.
Put it all out there.
Yeah.
So, because it's
But
hard. Yeah.
that's through condition, right?
Yeah.
Condition is always like, what will people think? What will people say? And you
Hmm.
don't want to act in a way that you're talked about. And it comes from actually a very sheep mentality.
Hmm.
And it comes from like the sense of belongingness. And if you look at the masses, like the 10% are so to the right, the 10% is so to the left, and there's the 80% herd
Hmm.
that they just don't want to um, they don't want to have a light shine on them,
Hmm.
because then there's a sense that if they are, then they're going to be ostracized.
Mm.
And so you keep playing this small game and you keep on playing this small game and you want a sense of belonging.
Mm.
And it took me a long time to be able to own that own skin. And when you learn to love yourself and know yourself, then you don't give a care about what other people think, because people will think anyways.
Hmm.
Good or bad, people are going to judge you anyways, Omar. Right? If you're doing good, they're going to judge you like, that guy, he thinks he's all over himself. He's shirtless. They're going to say it. If you don't wear it, then like, oh, that dude, he's so ripped. I don't know why he wears so much clothing. Just show that off.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever gotten that one. Okay, I mean, let's. Let's hope, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
what they
people
were
will
thinking.
judge, people will think anyway. So here's the thing, do you. That's my philosophy. It's just like, do what lights you up, brings you joy. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to
Yeah.
get there. I mean,
Yeah. Same, man. Same. Didn't learn these lessons yesterday. A combination of lessons built upon lessons, and one day maybe you have an
we're
aha
not
moment.
taught that. We
Yeah.
are not taught that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Especially in the Asian community. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
I mean, your parents are responsible for making you feel, self-conscious. Even, sometimes they're the ones telling you, "Hey, that's not good enough." And
They're
yeah,
not responsible. They're a part
I
of
guess,
because
yeah, maybe I'm
from the
I'm
past,
using the
right?
wrong words here. I
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
accurate with the
They
words here.
contributed. They
Yeah, yeah,
contributed.
yeah.
You took it. You
Mm-hmm.
owned it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's talk about being responsible for things and things that you say. Let's bring up how did we met. We kind of I kind of saw a post of yours in the Asian Hustle Network, caused some drama, and where I understand where most people are coming from, but I was a little bit like you really have to kind of either be doing something and thinking in a stretch kind of way, or really trying to look at something from a negative lens or perspective to see that, right? So I read it, and I at that point I don't know you. I'm like, hey, that was a night. Like, yeah, maybe you're flexing a little bit, like, hey, look what I. But it's like, whatever aside, whatever you do with the money aside, and we'll tell the audience, the thing in question, right? But um, I saw it as like, yeah, whatever, man. I didn't see a negative. If you wanted to see that way, okay. But it was actually like, I was like, thanks for sharing that. I've never treated Facebook Market seriously. I didn't know that you could get free shit. Did not know that this was a thing. And as far as maybe because for a while now, I've looked at life in a lens of, information is what you make of it, in the sense that I'm open-minded. If a homeless man tells me something, I'll treat the information for what it is and not who the guy is telling me, because the information is the same either way. Donald Trump says it, you say it to me, could be wise words from a homeless man, and so you don't want to just disregard information because it might not be in the prettiest book, right? Um, in that sense, yeah, it's I looked at your message for what it was, and I think I had, and then I was gonna comment, I was just looking through the comment. I was like, wow, some people were hating on you. One guy more than others, and Daniel, why don't you share with the audience, because I forgot what this thing is called, a cabinet or a dresser, or what
Okay.
the hell, with the real
So
innocent. Yeah, tell the story
let
as
the
in like we
audience
don't know
know,
anything. Yeah.
there is a Facebook group called the Asian Hustle, and it's actually taking all the Asians. It's a husband and wife that decided to just say, Asians have kind of a hustle thing. We've
Mm-hmm.
always been hustlers, especially immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
And so they formed this organization, this group, and they thought it was just going to be a side gig. But now, to this day, it happened about a year ago, and they have 63,000 people that are in there.
Yeah.
And it's just talking about the game, like how do you get ahead in life? And because that's what Asians want to talk about. And so recently I posted, I'm very silent in there. I don't flex much. It's funny that you call it flexing, because I wasn't flexing. What happened was that there was a guy on Facebook Market that was giving away a cabinet, a shelf, a floating shelf. He had listed it for money, and you could see it on Facebook where he starts reducing the price because it's not.
Okay, let's for a second backtrack. Facebook Marketplace. You may have seen it, you may not have seen it. It's a place on Facebook, kind of like Craigslist. Facebook copied the idea. There's a Craigslist on Facebook. May have looked on there, never seriously, never transacted. Maybe it's like a thing for people. I was like, dude, like, thank you for introducing me to a new window of opportunity. Like, I mean, like, I don't care what your intentions were in making that post. Doesn't matter. You gave me some good information. Fist pound, virtual fist pound, right? And I'm like, you take things for what they're worth. If you want to get angry and waste your time with the response, go for it, bro. Sometimes when I'm in a bad mood, I'll go troll Facebook and get pissed off at everything I read, you know? I've not anymore because I got over that, you know? I'm like, hey, that does me nothing. I might as well go try to make some money, right? Like why get involved with negativity? But okay, continue the story. I cut you off.
So yeah, so I found this. I don't even know how it happened. I just happened to be like on Facebook market, just kind of
Yeah.
just browsing for the
Yeah.
heck. So I saw this shelf. I'm like, oh, that's a kind of a cool shelf, and I could see that the price was going down, and so then he marked it for free. I'm like, okay, for free. Let me just inquire about it. So I went and drove. It turns out that he's only 7 minutes away from my house.
Yeah.
I go to pick it up, and the next day, using his same photos, I placed it on Facebook Market for $30.
Yeah.
I just reworded it a little bit differently, right? I named it. It was an IKEA product, so I named everything. And instantaneously, I get a buyer from it, and the woman lives an hour away from me, and says, "Can I come pick it up tomorrow?" So I posted on
She picked it
Asia.
up.
What?
You didn't even have to deliver it to her.
I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't take the picture. I didn't do anything. So I put it on the Hustle, and I was just demonstrating the fact that yes, we are in a downturn economy. Some people might be hurting right now. If you're hurting, just open up your mind and your space about the possibilities.
And let me ask you while we're on live stream, did you do this with the intention of using it as a learning tool, or like were you just like, wait, was $30, 5 minutes of my time?
I didn't do it as a learning tool. I just did it just because I was bored.
That's your idea of fun. That might piss people off even more. They're like, you asshole, this is your idea of fun? Screwing people over?
But as an entrepreneur, it's just always been flipping things for me. You know, as a kid, Omar, I bought things and sold it. I bought candy and sold it. That's just how an entrepreneur thinks.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was sitting at home just bored. I'm like, let me just see what I can do with this
I mean,
stuff.
talk about a prime example of the hustle mentality. I posted in the Asian Hustle Network, like pretty on theme post, right? We're not talking about some weird shit that doesn't apply. This is him demonstrating an example, albeit recent example, has happened yesterday or whatever, right? In the Asian Hustle Network, and you get shit on for that doesn't make sense to me. How does that happen?
Yeah.
And what were they saying? What were the comments like? Weren't they most positive though?
Some of the comments were like, "That's the real hustle, game on," and everything.
Yeah.
And then I got a few people who were like, "I can't believe this is being celebrated right now." He took a product that was free and made money on it when someone else deserving could have needed this thing. So this guy put out a free product out of the goodness of his heart, and Daniel Fong took advantage and usurped his entrepreneurialism, and he didn't give an opportunity to someone who was more needed than him. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the shelf. He just did it.
I don't know. I don't know why I'm laughing. Maybe.
And so what's funny is that they thought they made me felt like I went to a charity event. I robbed Peter, and I sold it. I'm such an ugly, mean person.
I feel like you deserve to get your side of the story out there, man, because I mean,
honest, like, I can't believe this is horrendous. This act, the Asians shouldn't be doing this. And then some people were really supportive, and then like, number one, it was a glass shelf. Trust me, no one needs a glass shelf.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? It's not an essential item. It wasn't like I was taking toilet paper that I didn't need in order to get it for free and then sell it at a profit. It wasn't like that. It was a guy that had a shelf, couldn't sell it, And we live in a community, Omar, where you can't put that thing on the end of your driveway because you will get fined. We have association, there's rules.
Yeah, yeah.
But for him to then dispose it would cost him money, right?
Yeah.
And I took a bargain. I took a risk that if I took it from him and I couldn't get rid of it, guess what I would have to do? I would have to dispose of it at a cost.
Yeah.
Right? So I just shared that, hey, it's not that we don't have resources. It's just that we're not resourceful and that we have to think outside of the box. And there's so many people that actually have someone's trash is someone's treasure. Someone's trash is someone's cash. That was it. And I posted, it wasn't a flexing of like, look at what I can do. It was just like, I did this. Think bigger. Think about some way. If you're trying to raise capital, right? And you can't because you can't borrow money from your friends. The bank's not going to give it to you. There's other ways to generate cash. I mean, what would you say to a guy that goes around to the garbage can and takes the aluminum foil of the aluminum cans and the bottles and then sells it? Would they go, that guy is taking trash, stealing it, and selling it at a profit? I can't believe that they would do it. It doesn't make sense.
So, yeah. So I mean, the thread got shut down and deleted before.
It totally got shut down.
I went, made some food, got the popcorn, came back. Where'd the thread go? Man, I got my popcorn. I was ready to read through some comments, and then
because there was like 300 comments. Like it was just going. It was so interactive. It was like one of the hottest posts out there, and there was only a handful of people, maybe like 3 or 4, that thought this was disgusting, and the rest of the people were like, "That's the hustle. That's what you're talking about. You know, that's what in times of need and everything, think bigger, think different, and you can create money out of thin air." That was my demonstration.
So,
and the owners of the thing just shut the whole entire thing down. It wasn't like they didn't freeze it; they just deleted the whole entire thread, which I thought was really interesting because it's an Asian hustle. It's a hustle. What does hustle mean? Whatever it takes, as long as it takes, as long as you're doing it ethically. I didn't do something that, it's not like the guy says, are you taking this to use for yourself? Are you gonna sell it? There was no condition on this thing. So for me, I felt like I did him a service, right? I did him a service. I took it off of him. The woman that actually bought it from me drove 1 hour in a Sequoia. She was not hurting. So I wasn't taking advantage of a woman and taking advantage of a guy at all. I was helping. I was the moderator between getting rid of someone's trash and allowing someone else to buy it at a discounted rate. Because she would went to IKEA and paid $150 for that.
Well, I mean, you don't have to explain it to me, perhaps to the audience. I don't know. I mean, if we're talking 3 or 4 out of 300 people, we're talking 1% of the population, right? And for me, the interesting thing, and to relate it to a larger kind of analogy or macrocosm thing, is that same thing as haters. I mean, not that she was a hater, but I mean, yeah, actually, that might be the right definition. I only had a few hundred followers on Twitch, and from that amount, I got a hardcore stalker hater guy, and I was first like, I'm like an introvert. I don't even meet people, but my point is that, like, at scale, you start seeing the fringes of the population, the outliers, right, on both sides. The crazies. Kind of like 100 people in your life, maybe you never meet this guy, right? 200 people, 1,000, and all of a sudden you make a post that's seen by 70,000 people, right? And I'm surprised you didn't get more haters. Like 1%'s pretty good post, right? because once, right, like half the population voted one president, the other president. And so when it comes to opinions on things, right, I would expect a greater divergence. Now, what happened was the moderators or whoever, maybe you knew it's them because they sent you a message. I don't know, whoever, because they have a lot of
But they're the
moderators.
only one that can shut that down. No one else can shut it down and
Oh,
delete.
I don't know
Only
what
the admin.
I don't know what powers moderators have. I'm not familiar with the
Well,
Facebook, like,
an admin
yeah.
on their own page has control over the whole entire page.
Yeah. Well, anyway, all right, let's say it was them, whatever. They're responsible for the decisions of their mods, so they should take responsibility for it. Anyways, without putting opinion out there, what I'm pretty sure happened was that, like, it's not easy making their decisions because I mean, I have talked to Brian, like, on the podcast about. He said, just like the amount of messages and posts that you get, it just gets unbelievable with 70,000 people. So, kind of after you talk to him, you're like, dang, man, yeah, I kind of feel your pain. Like, it becomes a really horrible job just freaking filtering through the posts. So, you're like, yeah, it sucks because look, man, I post a lot. At some point, I had, like, he was like, Omar, it's only like 1 week into December and you have like 1,200 comments or likes or posts. I'm like, damn. Yes. I don't know if I should be celebrating my troll ability. But anyways, he doesn't like that part of the job, at least. Just fucking, he was saying, dude, if 1% of the group sent him one message, it'd be 700 messages. like one, 70,000 people. Anyways, that's his side. And I don't think they make these decisions lightly. They weigh the pros and the cons, and they're like, man, maybe we might piss off Daniel, but you just kind of just like not have negativity. Not saying it's the right decision or the wrong decision. I think there's two sides of the coin on this issue too. I'm more of the liberal guy. I mean, I'll say flat out in my streams, I even had moderators, and I told them no banning. There's a no ban policy in my Twitch streams because I live a life of an outcast. So I get banned wherever I go, right? So yeah, I'm like, you know what? I don't really care if it's a hater. He can say what he wants to say. If I get pissed off, that's on me. I should have better control over my emotions, right? Like, look, maybe I'm a little bit autistic too. That's why I even think these things. But it's like, look, if a guy tells me something that's not true, it's just gonna go over my head. If he's telling me something that's true, right? That's probably like something I don't want to hear, or at least there's some truth to it, So you gotta think about if someone insults you. There's two things: you're either not comfortable with who you are, or you're just like in denial about something, right? Otherwise, if someone's just calling you something like, otherwise it's just gonna sound not true, and you could be like, this guy's crazy. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's what I think about that, man.
But just it's sad because if it was like I posted this in a nonprofit charity organization,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, this would be like incongruent. But when you're talking about Asian hustle and the hustle itself, it's about being expansive in thinking and to let 2 or 3 people of 63,000 people destroy. I think that's a weak leadership. It's a leadership that doesn't know what it stands for.
Dang,
And
man, you don't know.
at the risk of trying to please everyone,
Yeah.
he he disassembles and he shows up he reveals who he is to me. Like I'm like, you're weak. You're weak.
Dang, man, you don't.
You're worried about 2 people that made the bad comments
Well, I
because you
don't.
want to please everyone and keep the calm. That's not a leader will piss people off. If you don't have haters, you're playing a small game. It's a small game that you play.
Well, then let me ask you this then, because I know Brian to a certain not know him. I mean, I've interviewed him and talked to him some, right? And I know you now. Do you feel like that's like that's like a strong word just to come out and be like weak, right? Like, I mean, you've thought about this quite a bit, I'm guessing.
I didn't until now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because that would, and I don't know. I've just, I mean, pretty much most of what I've gotten has been, on his podcast, but I wouldn't claim to say whether he sees himself as a quote unquote leader or because I think that's some people sometimes, when I like start something, I'm like, I didn't see myself. I guess I should try to be a leader in terms of, I had the idea. I didn't like think of him as a leader because I mean, it might seem like I pay attention, I troll, but I don't like, I don't like look into, what he's doing everywhere, just enough to get comfortable with the podcast, right? But I also think when you say that, I'm like, does he even like see himself as a leader of this group, or this was my perspective. I saw him as he's like trying to craft a brand, like if this is a book, right, and then you censor some things in terms of this is his brand, in terms of you, and then so this makes me think. I'm just saying, I don't know. He didn't tell me. It's the first time I've heard your unfiltered thoughts on the subject, right? I mean, I can assume some of these things, right? Because I've gotten my posts deleted, and I'm like, but they weren't on the nature of anything like that. Yeah, probably just like started arguing with someone, they didn't want to see it. I'm like, well, yeah, but it was like I didn't like it because it happened to me, but I see the reason they did it, and I'm like, all right, that's fine. And for me, that just that affects my behavior in the same way that laws in real life affect your behavior when you go outside, right? I'm like, all right, well, I already know this kind of post is likely to cause a stir, so I might just not even make that. And in a way, it makes me want to contribute less. So it's almost like,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Like I would like, don't you think that the even a little bit of drama attracts attention, and then then I'm just kind of saying what I think they would say. They're like, well, that's not the kind of attention we want, right?
It all stems with like the purpose and the mission and
Yeah,
of the group, right?
yeah.
So here's the interesting part. Here's the interesting part.
Mm-hmm.
Those comments that were like, oh, he took advantage. If I bought that for $1, if I bought that shelf for $1 and sold it for 30, it would have been fine. But because it was free, because I got it for free, there was a sense of I'm taking advantage of it. But how many things do we take advantage of for free? Facebook is free and we take advantage of that. And Facebook takes advantage of us in return because they don't produce any of the contents at all. We do, and yet they make money.
Can I throw in a theory? Just interject, like just
Sure.
Since we're thinking about it, man, it got me. I mean, I attribute this to, a condition of being autistic a little bit. People always accuse me of overthinking things. That's why I was naturally drawn to poker, because I'm always thinking about, is he trying to trick me? And then I psych myself out. I'm like, well, does he know I'm thinking this? Because if he knows I'm thinking this, which he's a little bit of a smart guy, so I would assume that he knows I'm not an idiot, and then I psych myself out and I end up making the wrong decision, But in that sense, I think about people's intentions especially when they do things outside of the norm or what I wouldn't expect, like get mad at something where, because my getting better at reading people and adjusting to life as like a normal person, right, has also been, because sales and talking to people did not come naturally. It was learned over a long sales and marketing career. So it's been more of a cognitive. I have to learn, right? So that makes me aware of people's intentions or more conscious aware, yeah. And I'm naturally drawn to poker. It's fun for me, right? To be like, oh, it's a game of bullshit. It's a game of bluffing, right? Get your heart racing. And so my first thing is, I'm like, okay, as a amateur poker player, recreational poker player, I'm like, what drove that behavior that triggered that intention? And like in my life, my whole life has been trying to be better at placing myself in other people's shoes, because autistic people by nature don't like experience the same emotions, right? But it doesn't, like, not in the exact same way. I wouldn't know, I'm not a normal person. But so we think about these things, and we think about, because the facial, I don't know, I'm not as bad as some other I'm more of the high functioning. So I think about what triggered her, and then I try to put myself in her shoes, and I think, this is my theory, long-winded way, drum roll please. I think it comes a place of like envy and jealousy and insecurity that like they're like kind of like, man, I couldn't hear you. Your mic is on the off
Yes.
stage. Oh, here
Okay.
it comes back in now. Okay. And that like because I'm like, all right, did I feel kind of jealous at first? I'm like, I think I did. I think I was like, how come I'm not making money out of thin air? But I looked at it like, well, he shared it with me. Now I can go do it. And but I think you triggered like the envy and the jealousy. And maybe if someone has been recently laid off, it feels like an insult. Like, hey, I just made money and you're laying on the couch watching YouTube comments, right? So a little bit maybe they feel insulted. And so in their head, they find a reason to get mad at you. That one makes the most sense at the time. You taking advantage of people, but really I'm jealous and envious is kind of like how I translate that. I could be wrong, but my life has been like trying to think. Like at least when I have time to stop and think about it, like do I react in the moment too sometimes and get involved and yell, and then I'm just like, yeah, why do I? Why I should just go work out, man. Like I'm sitting here working out my fingers. I could be doing pull-ups, you know. Those are my thoughts on what
Yeah,
you
so
said. Yeah,
it's the crabs in the bucket syndrome.
yeah.
Have you ever heard of the crabs in the bucket?
No, no, no. What does that mean?
So people talk about like dream stealers, right? Have
Yeah.
you ever heard of the dream stealers?
Uh-uh.
So when you go after your dreams,
Yeah.
right? You go chase something much bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that are most closest to you are most like you. And when you go outside of that tribe, they typically want to pull you back in.
Damn.
And they used to call it the dream stealers. It's because they think that, well, someone's trying to steal your dream. It's not that they're trying to steal your dream. It's just that it causes them to think, I'm not going after my own dream. So if I'm not going after your own dream, hell no, you're not going to. And so, like crabs in a bucket, where they're
Oh.
clamoring when it's boiling, they're clamoring to the top.
Oh.
And the ones that are at the bottom that's not trying to get to the top says, if I'm not going to the top, you're not going to the top either.
Where do you learn this? Like spiritual school, or was this some course that you took? Like what? 'Cause
A whole lot of things.
I haven't
It's
come across that concept, and I've like been all over the internet. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just don't get out
It's just
much.
it's just being around people. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing, Omar, when you who you are is who you hang around with. The 5 people that you hang around with
Mm-hmm.
is the thinking and how much money that you make is like that.
Mm.
And so if you're in a tribe of group and you're at the top of the game, you're at the apex of like that tribe, there's nothing that you can learn from any of these people down below. Right? So you're the dude, you're like the guy, you're like, I got this, I know all the answers, I'm always making shit happen. How do you grow from the top? You can't. So you have to take yourself from the top and you have to put yourself into an environment, a tribe where you're actually now the bottom.
Yeah.
And when you're the bottom, then you go, oh my God, these people do things that I've never considered. They're thinking at levels that I've never think about. And that's where you actually grow.
And that's where I think they lose out by deleting that post. There's like
They do.
someone like me is not gonna come around and say, hey, that's a good idea. That gives me
Of
an idea
course.
how to go make
Of
money,
course.
right?
Of course.
You know, and then so what is the pros and the cons, and what is the purpose of the group? You're just making me think these questions, and I don't. But the thing is, I also know enough to know that I don't really know everybody's. I mean, I know yours a lot more. I mean, literally asking you your perspective right now. I mean, for me, before I actually like form a hard opinion, would want to be like, okay, well, let's get Brian here to at least respond. You know, I don't know what things are going on and the level of stress even. I mean, and like I think everyone gets a couple of those. Fuck, I just had to make a decision. There's like fucking 100 other messages I'm trying to approve or whatever. So everybody gets like, oh, end of the day, fucking. I don't want to see it. You know, like I mean, like it kind of like it sucks because this is like your life. You spend an hour like just like deleting, making sure the grammar's good, and you're like, at least let me like screenshot my own post so I can type it somewhere else. Like when I got my shit deleted, I'm like, I should have saved that in the Word doc first because that was some good content, and I'm not gonna rewrite it. Don't care that enough, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Yeah, it's sad because I mean, that group was created as a resource for number one, networking.
Yeah.
So that means that you're actually meeting people that you normally wouldn't meet. People post challenges and questions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And as content producers, our whole goal is actually go to the mountain, grab the information, the wisdom, and then bring it down to the people, right? And so my
Yeah.
goal was to here, I kind of found this thing
Yeah.
accidentally. Here's give this a try. And by shutting that down, someone is at home going, I need to come up with money. I just
I know,
can't think
right?
beyond trading time for money, asking my friends, and going to the bank. They just
You know
can't
what? I think
that
I
way.
if I was admin, let's just put it this way, I would have just locked the for future comments. I think
Comments.
yeah, I would have just locked it and said, you know what? No more. That kind of solves both ends. A, I don't want to see any more fucking bickering and play, adult in the room. But B, I think this is good information.
Yeah.
It just how you want to
But
look at it.
there
Yeah.
was only a bickering when people were just like, I don't know what you're thinking. He's done nothing wrong, right? Then it
Yeah.
started the conversation. And
Yeah.
it's really easy for them to just go back to the conversations where the bickering starts happening and deleting
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
portion and leaving the integrity
Well,
of the entire piece, which is to demonstrate there's ways to create
mm,
money out of thin air. And that happens all the time. I do it as an artist. I create money. I
mm-hmm,
create money out of thin air.
mm-hmm.
I take an idea, I put it onto canvas, and I sell it.
At the at
Okay.
the at the same
Am I
time,
robbing
yeah.
anyone? Am I robbing someone when I took an idea in my head? I put it onto canvas. It took me 30 minutes and I sell it for 1,000. Did I
Here's
take advantage of anyone?
no, and here's the weird
My
kind of
idea was free.
yeah. Here's the weird problem I'm realizing is that like in your head you're actually kind of doing people a favor in a way. It was kind of your intro post because I'm in a weird way like I am like higher IQ than the average population by at least a couple standard deviations. And so like I can communicate beyond just like the hello and like so in that sense, I don't know if you said you had made a post before, but in a way that's like your intro post. It's kind of like your way of saying, "Hey guys, I exist," just like right, you hadn't really made a post before. This was kind of you just putting out, "Hey, I'm obviously an entrepreneur. This is my way of saying hi." Whatever. And so that kind of got deleted in the process, which even you're like, hey man, I was just making friends in my own post and like not yeah, I mean and here's the thing also is that same way as in kind of how Yelp works, where only like the people that are really pissed off say something, and sometimes the people that that was great. Well, I'm not gonna go make a post, right? So it's like you hear really loud the people that are yelling, but that's 1% of the people, and so yeah, like you said, you're satisfying the minority with that. In society, it sometimes works that way too, though, right? On lobbying and just bigger issues. That's what kind of reminded me is that what happened there is almost like sometimes what I see wrong with how real life works, and that's just how kind of how life is. Well, I'm not gonna try to make a change. I'm
Yeah.
an observer.
Yeah. But check this out. Because I made that post and it got heated, it got somehow your attention, it got us to connect, and
Yeah.
now on your live post podcast. And so everything happens for a reason. I don't believe that there's anything that is a right or a wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of wait it out and find out whether it's a right or wrong.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we talked a lot about spirituality, which was one of the topics, but we kind of just started talking about it. What about, and this is something I'm unfamiliar with, is you mentioned minimalism too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of know, but since it's not something I practice or study, I wouldn't, what are just some examples? What does that mean?
So when I left my last relationship of 16 years, I just found
Wow.
myself like really empty, right? I'm like, who am I? What am I made out of?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, I also had lost six investment properties,
Mm,
lost $500,000.
mm,
And it got me to thinking, Omar, like, if I am defined by the things that I have, which
mm-hmm.
typically are, right? I got the house, I got the kids, I got the girl, I got the car, I got the phone, I got that's how we define ourselves. And when I lost all of that, I asked myself, if I'm defined by the things that I have, who am I when I have not? Number one, do people like me? And number two, do I like myself? So when you're taking off the mask, all these layers of who you are presenting to the world, do you like it? And I didn't like, my friends didn't like me. The friends that I thought I had didn't like me because I had lost everything. Like, oh, well, now Daniel's a loser. Skedaddle. Right? And then I looked at myself completely naked and I'm going, God, is that what I was? This guy that just chased after things, go to work, to dig the ditch, to earn the money, to buy the stuff, paying bills and then dying. And it caused me to go into reflection. At that point in time, I decided, I was exploring minimalism and I came across a YouTube video, the minimalist guys. They were at C-level executives making six figures, had all the trappings of success, but felt empty inside. And so they decided to take on a challenge where they boxed everything and they would only take out the things that they needed as they needed it. And then a year from then, they get rid of everything. And so I took that on as just trying.
I didn't know that was a minimalist attitude. I have a lot of that without knowing that's what it's called. That's interesting. Yeah.
So then at the end of the year, I took and I donated everything. I didn't sell it.
I haven't got to that point yet. It's still in the garage. I didn't throw everything away.
Oh, that's because we're so attached to things.
Yeah.
This thing that defined us, or I worked so hard to get that. There's so much money, but it's sitting in the garage. It serves no purpose. Let me tell you something, Omar.
Yeah.
The things that you have in the garage right now has no use to you.
Yeah.
There's no value. By you keeping it, you're actually trapping value out of that product because you can put that into a place in the hands of someone else that could use it, which gives it value. That mug, that picture, that whatever it is has no value in there. But it could have value for someone else that desperately needs it.
Hardcore minimalist values.
So when that happened to me, then I didn't come from, I want to get rid of things. I want to bless other people. Who can I go and bless this? Okay. So one of the most profound things that I had was I was going out and I was feeding the homeless. I packed 100 meals and I was going out. I had this one pair of shoes that I bought for $250 that I only wear on special occasions. Like it's like my thing, my signature piece, right? And I at this point in time, I had only worn it for three times. My third time, I come to this homeless guy and he says, do you have a pair of shoes? Because he was shoeless. And I didn't have an extra pair of shoes in my car. I didn't know what to do. And I just looked at him and I said, what size shoes do you wear? And he goes, 7. I said, I'm at 7.
Dang.
I took my shoes off. I don't know what compelled me, Omar. And I said, if you can fit this, it's yours, buddy. A homeless guy does not need a $250 pair of shoes. Damn. However, I knew for a fact in my brain that it sits in my closet the majority of the time. But on the feet of this guy, it gets used every single day, which actually amplify its value. And that's when I just I give and give and give. And so minimalism is not about deprivation of the things that you want. It's only having the things that you need. Really. So give you an example. How many coffee mugs could you possibly need?
Just one.
Yeah. How many martini glass do you really need? How many hats do you really need? Really need. But the reason we live in a world where it's consumerism, right? Entrepreneur. And so companies are so good. They create the problem of a void and they say, look, you're ugly. You're not sexy enough. You're not any of these. And then they sell you the solution, right? So they create if you don't have the latest iPhone 12, you're not sexy.
Yep.
You feel it, you take it, and then you go, I need that. And you buy it and it gives you a temporary satisfaction of fulfillment, but it doesn't last. And that's with everything that you buy, everything. And so now these days, I only have the things that I really need. And the things that I really need fits in 2 suitcases. And
Dang.
because as a result of that, I live such a liberated life because things don't own me. I own things.
Dang.
It's freeing. And people go, I don't understand how. You don't need that much stuff. You really don't. To live a fulfilling life, you don't need that much stuff. I still like things.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And when I buy things that I like, I buy it because it brings me joy, not because I'm trying to prove to someone else. I used to buy the Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
I can walk around saying, I got the Louis Vuitton and you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
There's
I'm better than you.
different intention goes
But
into
now
it.
when I buy a Louis Vuitton, it's because it makes me
Yeah.
happy.
Big difference.
There's a joy. And I could care less about what other people think about it. I don't. There was a time when I wanted a Rolex watch so bad because it defined the epitome of success.
Yeah.
Like when you bought that Rolex, and I have it,
Yeah.
and I wore it. You know what was really interesting for me?
What?
But everyone would say, nice watch. And I said, yeah, why do you like it? They're like, it's Rolex. They didn't say, I like the fact that it's a Roman dial. I love the fact that it's the bezel. I love the fact that it's this. They're just like, it's a Rolex watch. How could you not like it?
Yeah.
And it felt so unfulfilling to me. And then I just stopped wearing it. And then this $10,000 watch just became a watch to me. Is that weird?
I don't know about weird. It's I mean, it's very rare. I don't think I've ever I don't know if I can
It's a
relate to
compliment. It's a weird compliment when someone's like, it's a Rolex watch. I'm like, oh, okay.
I laugh because yeah, I've been not as hardcore minimalist as you, but I mean a lot of same philosophies, right? Like, oh, I'm not wearing a fucking shirt. It's not minimalist attitude, right? Like I don't need one. How many shirts do you really need? Not that many, really.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, like me, because I don't do my laundry for so long, I need enough to last me as long as I don't do my laundry. But if you're not wearing a shirt every day, the less shirts you need.
Yeah. But you know what happens is that when you become a minimalist, your mind is free
Yeah.
because you're not thinking about where's my stuff. Your space is free. You just have so much space, and it allows for freer thinking. And so then if you talk about energy and qigong and feng shui, there's movement. The energy just flows around and you just feel so much better in a non-cluttered life. And so I went from minimalist thinking because when I say I'm a minimalist, I swear to God, they think that I live in a white house with one sofa.
You have 2 sofas in the White
Yeah,
House, right?
everything's white. Yeah, everything's white. And I just have like nothing and I'm depriving myself. And so I went from that to actually saying tailored living.
Yeah.
Tailored to the needs that I have. No more, no less. It's very refined living.
Yeah, now that's a little bit more accurate than you need to be. But I mean, like, they should just know minimalist, just, hey, don't be too ignorant, go Google it. And, you know, I didn't know. That's why I asked. I'm like, does that mean nudist? Minimal? I don't know. You don't wear, you know.
However you find it. It might be nudism.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not stripping yourself naked of everything. It's just,
Yeah.
it's literally about like having the things that you really need because you need them, not because.
Yeah, it's the word. It's minimal, not zero. It's minimal. That's,
yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not deprivation.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a Fitbit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have a flip phone, right?
And well, let's kind of go back to, I think, something we touched on but didn't even really go into, when that might be what's most interesting to people, or I don't know, business people per se. I mean, people thought you were gonna give secrets to marketing or network marketing, and here we are talking about spirituality for an hour. So until you got on, I didn't know that the company that you are associated with is a Legal Shield, and is that one of those services that they provide you like a whole broad range of legal services for a monthly fee, and it kind of, I don't know. That's what I would assume. I'm not
Nailed
familiar
it.
with.
You nailed it.
Okay.
So, legal is one of the most expensive country club that you can ever have access to, right? At
Mm-hmm.
$300, $500 an hour, most
Yeah.
people are not conditioned to use an attorney. And so we take that paradigm, that way of doing life, of
Mm-hmm.
legal, flipped it on its head. And so what medical insurance does for hospital and doctor bills, Legal Shield does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're the Uber of legal services.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of paying an attorney at a higher hourly cost, you pay a monthly subscription, and with that, you have access to a network of attorneys to address every single day life situation. So for
Mm-hmm.
the first time as a Legal Shield member, people can check their rights without checking their checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
From big things to small things, from the trivial to the traumatic. Imagine being empowered of picking up the phone and saying, hey, this just happened to me. What are my rights? What can I do? How can you assist me?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have a headache, Omar, who do you go to?
Who do I or who do most people?
Traditionally.
A doctor. Yes, you're.
You have a backache, who would you go to?
Man, most people don't have a specialist. They just go to their generalist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You typically go to a chiropractor, right?
yeah,
You have
yeah.
a
Oh,
toothache, who do you go
oh,
to?
you're right. I see where you go. Dentist. I'm just like
You go to a
people.
dentist.
Yeah.
You have all these specialists
You're
for
right.
situations.
Oh, I see.
But when you
Yeah,
have life's aches and pains, where do you go? You know where people go? They go to Google,
yeah,
friends and family,
yeah,
and the water cooler at work. And they go,
yeah,
hey, this happened to me. What did you do? Have you experienced that? And they're
yeah,
just getting opinions. They're not
yeah,
getting expert advice.
yeah,
Why? Because $300 an hour is
yeah,
keeping people out of that.
yeah.
And
Well,
so
yeah.
a monthly subscription, you now have access. You're empowered. That's what we're all about.
And and talk about just embracing your identity. No one I've ever met in my life has come out and just be like, "Yes, I'm a network marketer. I aspire to be the best one in the world." I'm like, "Nice to meet you too. I'm Omar." Talk about just being comfortable in your own skin. Just being proud of who you are, regardless of, what people might think. What's that path like? I mean, you shared a little bit just with me, not with the audience yet, just kind of how you got your start. I have restaurant experience too. I've done sales in my life, so I relate in some of that path, not the last half of that path. So how does that turn into network marketing, and how do you settle on legal when you obviously have a lot of options when it comes to this type of industry and this type of marketing?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
So I've always been an entrepreneur from childhood. I mean, I can just demonstrate you and that. And then I became in sales,
yeah,
commission based. So commission based selling has always been a part of my life. I was
yeah,
not against that.
yeah,
I think actually it's one of the most fair compensation because it's based on meritocracy.
yeah,
Meritocracy says, look, if you are good, you should be compensated. But the rest of the world says every single person, $10 an hour, this is
yeah,
all you're worth. And
yeah.
they thumb you down. They said that no matter what you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so in the corporate environment, there's just a ceiling. And
Yeah.
in a commission base, it's like you get to determine how much you work, how hard you work, and how great you become.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was introduced to the network marketing philosophy and I studied it,
Mm-hmm.
I just fell in love with like what it stood for. It gave every single person an opportunity at a jab of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have an entrepreneurial bone, it's a very safe. It's almost like a mini franchise, right? People buy like a McDonald's franchise because
Yeah.
it's proven. Like if
Yeah.
you buy a McDonald's franchise and if you don't succeed with McDonald's, it's because of you. It's not because of McDonald's,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You have to try pretty hard to run a
Yeah.
McDonald's into the
If
ground.
you do, like what did you do? Did you change the filet o fish from blue to salmon color?
Yeah.
You had to like add sriracha sauce
Yeah.
on your Big Mac or something.
Man,
That's
that might help your sales in certain markets, man. Like, I'd go for
certain
that.
markets, and yeah, but the McDonald's doesn't allow for that.
Yeah,
So
of
that
course.
has to come from some. So it's a proven model. Well, in network marketing, you have a proven system. The company has the product. They built this infrastructure, and all you have to do is actually plug into sweat equity. And if you do that long enough and you build the skills, success is inevitable.
So let me ask you this, because I think it's important to be in with a company that you believe in their end product and service. I say this having gone through some shit where when after I looked in, I'm like, why? I'm not even want to. So for me, it's at least, you know, I don't speak for everybody. It's like that's very important before. So what? And you've obviously been around the block in this. How did you? What's your history, or have you been lucky enough to just be with companies that you liked? Have you experienced the same? Been like, I got involved
Oh
here,
gosh,
right?
prior to that, I've tried just about everything, dabbled
Yeah,
in every single space. And as you can see, my virtual background is heroes.
yeah.
And as a kid, Omar, I've always wanted to be a hero. You know, when people ask, like, what do you want to be? It's like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. I remember as a kid, I'm just like, I want to be a superhero because I was watching this Justice League. I'm like, that Superman, that Wonder Woman, that Flash Gordon, I'm just like, I don't know what they are exactly, but what they are is that they help people. And I want to be that guy that just helps people. So social justice and equality has always been integral for me. As a gay Asian male, I had to fight for my place into this world because there's so much inequities, right? People talk about like, well, you're fighting for gay rights. I'm like, I'm not fighting for gay rights. I'm fighting for equal rights. I don't want special gay taxes. I don't want a special gay seating section in the plane.
Yeah.
I just want it to be treated like everyone else.
Damn.
I want to have the liberty to get married.
Yeah.
And I also want to have the liberty to get divorced. Just the same, right?
Yeah.
So I've always been the guy that's like that's fighting for the underdog. And so when Legal Shield presented itself to me, I didn't want to be an attorney, but I could be the conduit to attorneys. And so indirectly, I protect and empower, and I get to be the hero. And it just meshed with me. It spoke to my heart. And I'm just like, that's the thing. That's my dude. So I'm blessed I was introduced to it. It found me more than I found it.
I mean, it makes 100% sense to me. If some people are going to pay for house insurance, car insurance, this just seems like one of those logical steps to just cover your own ass in a lot of different areas.
No. Because you're thinking on an insurance level.
Oh, so you're like, no, don't think about it that way.
We're way beyond insurance.
She's way beyond insurance.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
You pay for medical insurance, correct?
I don't personally. You're talking to a fucking guy that doesn't pay for anything. No, I know most people have. That's why I mentioned these things, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you one. You have auto insurance, correct?
I don't have.
Do you have a car?
I have a. I'm laughing because you're talking. My motorcycle's in the garage because I'm saving up my money to fix the motorcycle. I'm like, well, I didn't want to interrupt you with the outlier story. I'm just like, I kind of need my motorcycle. Anyway,
but
no.
if your motorcycle will be fixed and everything,
Yeah.
and you need to put it onto the road, you have to have insurance.
Yeah.
Be on the road
Yeah.
legally, right?
Yeah, legally,
Okay.
not sometimes not the way I do
Well,
it.
let's talk
but
about
yes.
overall, because I get you. I mean,
Yeah.
like medical insurance is completely overrated.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Dental insurance, I have medical insurance because it's required. If it wasn't required, I probably wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
Dental insurance is not required. I don't have it. I'm self-insured,
Yeah.
right? But there are certain things that you do.
Yeah.
Medical insurance, auto insurance, home
Yeah.
insurance, vision
Yeah.
insurance, all these insurances.
Yeah.
And so people call insurance the necessary evil. Why? Because they pay for it and they don't want to pay for it. And the only times that you use insurance is when something bad happens.
Yeah.
If you had car insurance, it's you had to
right.
get into a car accident. Medical insurance, you have to be sick. Dental insurance, your tooth is rotten. Life insurance, you have to die to use it. And the interesting thing, Omar, you buy this thing that this company that formed it sold it to you.
Yeah.
You don't want to use it because you're afraid your deductible is too high, your
Yeah.
rate might go increase, and you might
Yeah.
be canceled.
Yeah.
The company that sold it to you don't want you to use it either.
Yeah.
Because if you use it, you're dipping into their money pool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what a crazy genius idea. Let me sell you something that you don't want, but you have to have, but you'll never want to use it, and we don't want you to use it. It's a win-win
You're right, man.
situation
That
on
is
a business level.
that is the exact same way I feel about insurance put into words. Yes.
Okay, so Legal Shield is very different because you know why? We want you to use it.
Okay.
Because if you use it before, during, and after a situation, you'll make better decisions. You'll save yourself time, money, and frustration.
Yeah.
Before you enter into a leasing contract, before you start a business contract, before you get married, before you adopt, before you do, it's also the positive stuff, right? Because the rich people, you know what rich people have? They have access to an attorney and a tax advisor.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey would rather pay an attorney, a network of attorney, $10 million to protect her 100 million.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But average Joes are not conditioned like that.
Yeah.
They're taught to avoid attorneys because they're too expensive, you're bad, all of that, right? But rich people says the first thing you need to do is get a great tax accountant.
Yeah.
And the second thing you need is an attorney.
Yeah. So what are some of these more common I'm not even thinking of. I mean, like help you with your forming your business and things like that.
Sure. When was the last time that you were taken advantage of?
Fuck, man, let me think. All the no, I'm kidding. Yeah, you're absolutely right. My first business, right? Just didn't really. It was just kind of things happened, and I'm just ran it as a sole proprietorship with friends of friends, and they fucked me over, and it was like it was last thing from my mind, really, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, we get into situations all the time, right? Have you loaned money that you never gotten back? Have you
yeah,
rented a
yeah,
place, clean it up, great, and then you move out and the landlord didn't give you your security deposit back?
yeah, man. Yeah, actually,
Have you
yeah,
purchased something that now you can't return? Have you bought a
yeah,
warranty and now they're saying, oh, that's not covered,
yeah. Okay.
right?
But
So
I mean, let
certain
me ask you
things in
this,
life
man.
that
Do
happen
come
that are
on, all
small
right.
things
Do what
that
like
you,
do is this like really something you could bring to an attorney? Like, they wouldn't be like, I don't want to fucking deal with this matter, or they would actually like deal with like things that seem otherwise trivial.
here's the thing.
Yeah,
When an attorney is charging you $300 an hour,
yeah.
would you go to them with a $50 problem?
No, no.
No, because it
Yeah,
wouldn't make sense, right?
yeah,
It's like you're going to a $300 solution to fix a
yeah,
$50 problem.
yeah,
Financially, doesn't make sense.
yeah. So for them, it's just like the company pays them X amount of money and says you answer questions if they call, something like that, and so
Yeah.
it doesn't
So
matter who
our
you.
network
Yeah,
of attorneys, because we actually take the money from all of our subscribers and then
yeah,
we retain the law firms and we prepay them in advance.
yeah.
We prepay them into advance.
Gotcha,
And so their only job is that when our members call, they have to take that call.
gotcha,
It's a must requirement. So
gotcha.
whether it's a $5 problem, it's a legal problem.
Yeah,
They're never going to be like, Omar, it's only $5. Why are you calling me? They
yeah.
have to take.
I see. I guess that would be like my only question. I'm like a little bit unsure. So it is just like rich guys got a lawyer on dial. You call them, be like, "What do you think?" I'm gonna do
No.
this. Yeah,
So no, it's beyond that. But
yeah,
Omar,
yeah,
if you were an attorney,
yeah,
you had a law office,
yeah.
and in that law office is no, 23, no, 83 attorneys.
Mhm,
Your law firm, you're the owner, you have 83 attorneys,
mhm,
right? If a company came to you and paid you $2 million a month, $2 million a month,
mhm.
your law firm,
Yeah.
and says, look, we're going to pay you $2 million a month. We have these bunch of people
Mm.
that will call you.
Yeah. I see.
This $5 or $100 or $5 million
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Need advice, consultation, they need
That
help.
makes sense. Yeah.
Would you pick up that phone call?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I
You're
feel. Yeah.
ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have your money already.
Yeah.
Like, of
Yeah.
course you would take that.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
You would roll out the red carpet for the dollar
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That's how our attorney treats our members.
That's a good it's an efficient use of kind of like you said, giving the things you're not using, you kind of just, taking supply and, funneling it to people that could handle it where they might be sitting around twiddling their thumbs anyways if they weren't given that work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because attorneys charge so much that they're not going to see a plethora of
Yeah.
clients.
It's like when your attorney charges $500 an hour, he's not sitting there banging out work for 8 hours a day. He's just chilling. Might do a couple hours of work. Might go play golf. He's not making like. But sometimes they are. Sometimes they'll work because they want to make that money. I'm just saying it. Actually, a lot of them do, but that's how it works. You got attorneys. Maybe they're on salary, and so the owners, right? The owner of the law firm is like, I need to keep this guy busy. I'm paying him $100,000 a year.
Yeah, but even then, Omar, they're not
Yeah,
handling $100 problems.
yeah,
They're not handling $5 problems.
yeah,
They're five figure
yeah,
problems
yeah.
is generally what
I
they
mean,
are.
well, let me ask you, what I would need would be like company formation, or should I even form the company? What kind of company should I form it into? What
Sure.
entity? Right?
Great
I don't
question.
know any of that shit. I let my lawyer
Yeah,
figure it out. Yeah.
absolutely.
That's
Because if
yeah.
you came in with questions and you were given expert information, do you think that you could make better
Oh,
decisions?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
If you make better decisions, will it save you time, money, and frustration?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're here to help people save time, money, and frustration of life because life happens.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd say you have life figured out more than most people, but even you said, hey, hey, I don't even have life figured out yet. What did you mean by that? You were just like on a general sense, or do you just like kind of like maybe been humbled recently? Like, damn, like where does this come from? Because sometimes I feel like, hey, I've got life figured it out, and then I'm like, I have no idea. Things happen that change your perspective.
Well, when you think that you have life figured out, it's
Yeah,
because you live in a very small box of
yeah.
life, right? Like go to school, get good grades, this is it, pay the bills,
Mm-hmm.
get married, have the kid, and you go, oh, I kind of got it. Like everything's kind of taken. But when you actually start stretching that box and you play a bigger game and you
Mm-hmm.
start traveling the world and you start being very expansive, you realize you know nothing. So here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you know, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like you know that you speak English,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you also know what you don't know?
No, I have no idea what I don't know, right? If I don't,
Yeah, you
yeah.
do know what you don't know. You
Oh,
know that you don't speak Tagalog.
oh, yeah, yeah. No, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So
Yes.
you know what you know.
Yeah. I know
You
what
also know what you don't
I
know.
see what you're saying. Yes, I know the
But
things
guess
that I
what?
don't. What?
You don't know what you don't know.
Got you. No, I skipped a step. I see. I never thought about the middle step of the things that that you don't know. I just was looking at those two. I didn't realize there's that third slice of pie of
You
things
don't
that,
know what you don't know.
yeah.
So there's 10% is the bell curve. Everything is a kind of bell curve. And you look at the Pareto's, right? 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
10% you know what you know.
Yeah.
Because we only use 10% of our brain anyways. 10% you know what you don't know, but there's 80% that you just don't know until you actually come into it.
Yeah.
I didn't know for a fact. Here's the funny thing. There was a point in time when I thought I was afraid of heights. I just like in my head was like, no, I'm just so afraid of heights.
Hmm.
And someone asked me this, Omar. They said, when you go into the plane, do you sit by the window? I'm like, yeah. They said, why do you look? Why do you sit in the window? I'm like, I just love looking down. I just love looking down at the city, the lights.
Yeah.
And then they said, you're not afraid of heights. I'm like, of course I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that they wanted me to go skydiving. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm totally afraid of heights.
Yeah.
And so when they asked me that question, I'm like, that's weird. Why
Yeah.
do I sit at the window looking
Yeah.
down?
Yeah.
You know what I was afraid of?
What?
Dying.
Yeah.
Dying. Because I just equated skydiving, dying.
Yeah.
So you know what I did? I went
What?
skydiving. And I loved it.
Damn.
And then from there, from skydiving, I went ziplining, paragliding.
Damn.
Went bungee jumping. I just did all these things. I'm like, holy cow, this is such a big world that I didn't know. I didn't know
Yeah.
I had that in me. So now
Damn.
I'm an adrenaline junkie now.
Yeah.
I go after that shit,
Yeah.
right?
I wish that it was that easy for everybody to just tackle their fear. Hey, I'm scared of heights. All right, time to go skydiving. Let's just tackle this.
Well,
Get yeah.
it's only a decision. That's all it is. Life
Yeah.
is just little decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You're not born. There's only two fears that we're born with, Omar. We're only born with a fear of heights, truly,
Mm-hmm.
and a fear of loud sounds. Everything else is completely fabricated.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of public speaking, the fear of Asians.
Well,
It's all created,
yeah.
manufactured.
Yeah.
But you can overcome that as long as you just push your comfort zone out a little bit. And you take little baby steps. And then you just, as you expand your comfort zone, that which used to be uncomfortable becomes comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be uncomfortable for me to speak because, interestingly
Wow.
enough, I'm a complete introvert.
Mm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
I've acquired the skills that when I'm in the presence of others,
Mm-hmm.
I turn a part of me on that lives inside me that lies dormant otherwise.
And I don't think yeah, that's weird because I'm kind of like that too. But when I watched your first live stream, I was like total extrovert. I mean, who goes live freaking just to go live? Like extroverts do that. Just, hey guys, who can just free talk on their own, monologue style, no one talking back to them? Who can do that for however long you did it for? Extrovert, 100%, And then, but I'm like, yeah, that's the first feel that you get from just watching the things you do. You never know. 'Cause I think people think that about me too. That I'm an extrovert. I'm like 100% introvert over here as well.
Well, people don't understand the word introvert and
Yeah.
extrovert. They think that shy is. I'm not a shy person.
Was
I'm not a shy,
just talking
but I'm
about
an
that.
introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I go out into the crowd and everything, it's exhausting. Like after a convention, after all that, I kind of have to go home for like
Yeah,
2 days and
gotta
just kind of climb in my shell
recharge. Yeah.
and just recharge.
Yeah.
I spend most of my days, I go on my spiritual walk. It's like 3 hours just by myself. I meditate at
Wow.
the ocean for an hour by myself, and I love it. I have no problems.
Wow.
I used to not like the president of my own company, but now I do.
Okay.
But when I'm
Damn.
in the presence of others, I
Yeah.
have to show up in a manner that contributes. And so, why do I go on Facebook Live? It's because I have a message, I have a story, and I have to live a life that's not just about me. Because
Yeah.
there are other people that are going through situations. So I feel like I was blessed enough to go through situations in life so that I can actually share that experience and help somebody else. And if I just hold it to myself, I play such a selfish game in this life. My
Yeah.
life is not mine.
Yeah.
It's to be shared. And so I share story. I'm very vulnerable and transparent and raw on Facebook. I
Yeah.
tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't present all the pretty stuff.
Yeah.
And I
And
get really deep down and say, look, if you're hurting, I hurt too. I do.
I didn't
Life to
yeah.
me, every single day,
Uh-huh.
every people's like, Daniel, are you happy every single day? And I said, yes, I am.
Are you really? Damn.
I am. But you know what, Omar?
What's that?
I'm not happy every moment of
Yeah.
every day.
Okay.
I have down moments.
Mm-hmm.
I have moments of insecurity, moments of fear. But overall, on a day, 24 hours, I'm happy
Yeah.
because the fact that I am alive again.
That's true.
Because yesterday someone took their last breath, and
You said
tonight,
that before, yeah.
someone's gonna take their last breath.
For real, right?
And when you have another breath, you have everything. You have another day to do better. You have another day to do more. You have another day to be kinder. You have another day to get yourself better. And I love that. And so I don't take life for granted that way. And so I learned these lessons, and my goal is just to go out there and share it, because we live in a world where Facebook, everything is so pretty. And people are like, oh my gosh, and then they compare themselves. I'm like, look, behind the scenes, it's not that pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's fucked up, messed up, broken, just
Mm-hmm.
like everyone else. But they won't tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you because I'm a friend,
Yeah.
and a friend will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
That's
And I'll
true.
tell you the raw, ugly.
So what how long have you been doing this, and what is your audience like? Like, I didn't investigate, like, I didn't count how many friends you have. How long have you been doing these videos for, and what's been the response been like?
Um, I don't count the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I don't, because that's not my. It's not my end game.
Yeah.
Isn't to acquire a certain amount.
Yeah.
I go out, I show up, and I make an impact to whoever I make an impact to.
I see.
I reach one person, just like when we started this, and you said if we have one person and that change, it's everything because you can touch one life.
You're right. I guess I'm because I'm been putting out content every day, and I don't know who sees it. Um, and I don't know if is this the best way to deliver? Just put it out there, see what happens. As in, like, I'm just doing it to my circle of people that I friended on Facebook, and if someone benefits, great. Um, and I'm just wondering, like, has there been an effect of, like, do people share it outside of the network, and does it draw new people in? I just started doing content for a week. Sometimes it's just like my artistic endeavor. So I found that it's helped me greatly with public speaking skills. Just practicing the back and forth, just playing ping pong. Because autistic people by nature are not just fail at small talk and are not interested in it. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, I grow a lot from each podcast that I do. I learn some new perspectives about life, and yeah, I don't even know where I was going with
Yeah,
that.
I think
Yeah,
for me, it's just happening on a very organic level.
yeah,
I haven't even touched over to TikTok and
yeah,
Instagram. My
yeah,
face is pretty large,
yeah,
and I'm just starting there. And I think that long term, I'm meant to do more, and I'm
yeah.
meant to do bigger. You know, there's a saying: Oprah Winfrey never set out to be on TV. She never
Yeah.
did, right? She
Really?
knew,
It just grew organically like that?
yeah. What she knew was
Mm.
that she wanted to tell a
Mm-hmm.
story about her life, and what she wanted to do was to help people. And one day she had a situation where she was offered an opportunity to be a news anchor, and that's not what she wanted to do, right? And so that launched her
Mm.
into media, but she's never sought out to be in media.
Mm.
But that was the vehicle for her to actually reach millions of lives.
Mm. I see.
So social media is just the tool
Mm-hmm.
that you're using to get information to a larger audience. Now, are there technicalities and all that kind of stuff eventually?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I come from a belief that you just kind of grow on a very organic, you don't
Mm-hmm.
do it with an intention
Mm.
to. Yes, there's an end game. An end game is like, I want to make an impact. How do I make an impact and everything?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start adjusting what you're doing, what you're saying, then you're not congruent, you're not authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it's going to actually hurt you
Mm-hmm.
because you're not going to be someone else that you're not, right? How many times have you seen American Idol? They win,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden the directors or whoever their manager starts changing. Like Kelly
Yeah.
Clarkson was one of those people.
Yeah.
Leanne Rimes was another. When she won,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want her to sing country. They wanted her to sing rock and roll. And she's like, I'm
Really?
doing that.
Wow.
Kelly Clarkson, the same thing. So there was a time where they kind of transformed her and she didn't like it.
Yeah.
Susan Boyle was another one.
Yeah.
She's like this little shy thing, and then they wanted to make her something else, and it was just beyond her skin. And
Yeah.
and you just don't. You'll
Mm.
eventually hate yourself when you do something with an intent to get
Mm.
rather than an intent to impact.
Damn, homie.
You'll impact the people that you impact,
Yeah.
and that's all you can do. All you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's an audience out there waiting to hear Omar, to hear his story, his journey of life, because somewhere along the way, someone's hurting
Mm-hmm.
autism, and they just want someone that they can relate to. They want
Mm.
a a shirtless guy that they can relate to.
Well, I mean, I was thinking that would be a beautiful way to kind of try to wrap it up, because that actually brings us back to the very beginning, something that you mentioned of life only makes sense when you connect the dots. And I was looking at your shirt, right? In hindsight, right? While you're doing it, this shit's random and you're making mistakes, but sometimes you learn from your mistakes. You become a more powerful person, learning from certain tragedies and failures, but that the failure helped you, become more smarter because you learned how not to repeat that mistake or the same mistakes. You had said some things like, "Oh, partnerships went sour." Well, that might teach you be shielded legally, in the future, right? And then so on that note, right, and we were talking about, well, you also wouldn't want to know ahead of time because that's gonna fuck up your decisions right now. And then that made me think, but does it, knowing that like life just almost always makes sense in hindsight, does that give you a little bit more confidence to just like go with your gut, go with the flow, and kind of having confidence it will work out in the end, though? Does it contribute in that way at all?
Yeah, life will
Okay.
always work out in the
There
end.
you go.
Life unfolds exactly the way that it's supposed to happen. And so we're just all pawns in this game of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so number one, the universe, I don't know who your spiritual leader is, but
Mm-hmm.
there's something that's a little bit bigger that kind of does this thing, and we
Mm-hmm.
get to use it and it uses us to play this bigger game of life.
Yeah.
So there are things that are necessary in life to happen. For example, most people don't understand this, but there's forest fires. And you think, well, forest fire is so devastating. Sometimes it's necessary because it gives new birth,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at MAD, Mothers Against Junk Driving,
Yeah.
that phenomenon was as a result of a woman who lost her daughter
Yeah.
to a drunk driver. So when you look at, oh, that had to happen, and it sounds weird, for MAD to become a phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had to lose their life to cancer for the Susan G. Komen,
Yeah.
this awareness, right? And so I look at life as it's neither good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. And it's how we use it that makes an impact. Just like electricity is neither good or bad, correct?
Yeah.
Electricity has the ability to power your house, but it also can electrocute and kill somebody. So how it's used. So life comes in lessons. People come in lessons. It's how we use it that makes a difference, whether it's good or bad.
And
So I don't think that we're born to make wrong or right decisions. We're born to make the decisions, and when we make them right, and in life, we either win or we learn. We never fail, because the only way to fail is to not try at all.
I agree with all that. I don't want to I want to let the audience be their own opinion. I don't want to be like, well, this is what I think. It's my philosophy too, but I want to kind of let that sink in with the audience, like, because I imagine you're telling a lot of people things that they're it may be not, it might be one of the first times they're like exposed to this perspective, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
because we're raised with paradigms and everything. And
Yeah.
so when you go into bigger thinking, you realize it's not what you don't know that actually hinders you in life, but it's actually what you know that just ain't so. We're taught, and everything is perspective. Let me end with this, and I'll give you, this is such a beautiful thing that I do with everything.
Sure.
When you change the way you look at things,
Yeah.
soon the things you look at change.
You change the way you look. Damn.
When you change the way you look at things, soon the things you look at change.
Damn.
That tells you that everything in life is perspective, right? So first it gets created in the mind, and then it gets created in reality. So, Omar, can you see my fingers?
Yeah.
All right. What am I holding up?
A deuce, peace sign.
Okay. So in the context of numbers, what am I holding up?
2.
In the context of an alphabet, what am I holding up?
A V.
In the context of an animal, what am I holding up?
Animal. A bird.
Bird. In the context of hippies, what am I holding up?
Peace sign.
Okay. Did what you look at physically change?
No.
What change?
It's your perspective.
Perspective.
Yeah.
So that means that everything, that life has no meanings. We as human beings are human making machines. So we give it meaning. So when something happens, we automatically tag it and say that's good or bad because we're to think it that way because it's always been that way, right? A black cat has always been bad. The lucky number in America is what?
7?
What's the lucky number in Chinese?
888. 8, yeah.
Right. Who's right? Who's right, Omar?
No. I don't know.
Both are right.
Yeah.
Both are right. Because if you believe it's true, then it's true for you. So you get to create. So if you can learn something, you can unlearn. And this is where my quest for like constantly learning more and more. In the knowing more, I'll find the truth for me. And I'm just looking for my truth. And then I share that with the world as this is what I've learned and this is what is working for me. I don't say that this is the only way. This is just another way. And I present that. And if you want to take it on, you take it on. Someone had to introduce me to OMAD. Someone had to introduce me to minimalism. Someone had to introduce me to network marketing as a way to create income. And I tried it and I liked it and I kept it. The things that I tried that I didn't like, I rejected it. I didn't reject it like that's not right. It was just not right for me. So I don't make anything right or wrong. I just make it not right for me. And just because it's not right for me doesn't mean that it's not right for the rest of the world.
Well, I like leaving it that way because it's not an easy lesson to tell someone. I'm glad you're the one delivering it now and not me. But remember that, kids and everybody else, there's no such thing as good or bad. There's only perspectives. Okay? Next time you feel strongly about something, just imagine what someone else might think, okay?
There's possibilities.
Possibilities. There we go. All right. Well, I'll leave the audience with that. Thanks for joining us, Daniel. It was really awesome conversation. Probably the longest podcast I've done so far. So, yeah, we made it a good one. All right. Bye, everyone.